Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I will note all members are present this morning, and I will move to approve the minutes from the October 12th, 2022 board meeting. If there's a second.
I'll second it for purposes of
Thank you.
motion.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
And I'll just abstain since I wasn't able to be with you guys.
Very good. And I will move to acknowledgement of the resignations from and appointments to elected office. In this case, Linda Schuckert, resigning from Cuyahoga Heights Board of Education, Carl Daniels and Marie Daniels from Lindale Village Council, and the appointments of Kelly Zacharias in Parma City Council, Ed Carbon, Lindale Village Council, and Carmelo Flores in Lindale. If there's a second.
Second.
Thank you. Any question or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Now on to fiscal. We have some vouchers on here. I will move to approve the vouchers as set forth in the agenda. If there are any questions, for Mr. Pilati, Ms. Williams?
I did have a question. Maybe this is for legal counsel. Is it CHI for corporation or CHI or? It's just, whenever I see sort of a standard boilerplate terms and conditions.
Good morning, it's she.
Is it CHI?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Yes. So I just want to make sure somebody went over this. It has sort of, provisions. It's the terms and conditions of sale of goods and licenses. I just glanced at it, but whenever I see standard terms and conditions on a contract, it's always worth taking a look because they're generally drafted in favor of the vendor. So just wondered if somebody, I understand we need the services and we need all that, but just want to make sure somebody's really eyeballing the standard terms.
And we looked over as well as our IT department director, who's the equivalent for the Secretary of State Directive. So he understands it, looking at any questions.
Okay.
Yep, and I just want to add to that too. So Robin with the TAC board, the Technical Advisory Council, which is beyond the county from all the different things Robin sits on. They also reviewed this particular, they came up with the specifications and made sure that everything met what it needed to do for the functionality with that. So,
Yeah, I understand the specifications for the product. I'm just asking that somebody gave an eyeball of the standard terms and conditions. So if you're telling me they did,
We
then
did not give it to our legal counsel. Mark must know if that's your question.
okay.
So if that's what you're requesting.
Just in the future, I mean, we need to have some, I'm not trying to, I know we need the stuff and, but whenever we see a vendor standard terms and conditions, somebody needs to be giving that some eyeballing. Okay, I don't know. It needs to, we need to move forward. So I'm not trying to hold up anything, just want to flag that to attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Ms. Walker or Mr. Pilati? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. And on to the approval of the personnel agenda. Mr. Pilati?
3 items on the personnel agenda. The first being asking to move the observance of the Veterans Day holiday. Veterans Day will be observed by the county next Friday, November 11th. That is post-election. However, that's when we're processing full payroll, provisionals, equipment coming back. It's not a good time for us. We've done this in the past. We want to move the observance of the holiday this time till Tuesday, December 27th. Monday the 26th, the county's closed in observance of Christmas. We want to tack one more day onto that. On the 11th, the building would be open for the public to come in for services, although really it's more so internal operations happening at that time. And then on the 27th, we would actually be closed to the public. They would not be able to come here for business. And then we had a resignation of Richard Klein, a supervisor in our ballot department. His last day is actually tomorrow, leaving us to go start a new career at the lottery and leave donation for Patricia Lewis. We don't get leave donations very often. The way this process works is internally, HR with the director, deputy director. We make sure that everything is in compliance. The person is applied for FMLA and that, and then we make known to the employees that someone is in need of time and they can voluntarily donate time to them to use once they expire their own absence of sick and vacation time. And then we just putting this before the board, really to make them aware that this is what's happening. So everything is in line for this employee to meet all the requirements of it.
I will move to approve the personnel agenda set forth on the agenda. There's a second.
Second?
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Parati? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. On the election update.
Okay. We are rapidly getting to the election day. It's a point in the cycle where, okay, let's just get here. But things are going well. Early in-person voting, it's continues to be a popular choice for voters this election cycle, more so than it was 4 years ago. So through yesterday, we had voted a little over 12,300 people, which is about 1,800 more people than we had on that same date in history 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, we were like, wow, this is record. So we're 1,800 ahead of where we were there. Obviously, today's Thursday. We'll probably get around 1,500 voters, but Friday through Monday, we anticipate about 2,000 voters per day each of those days coming and voting. And that would be a little bit above where it was 4 years ago. So it's definitely reasonable to expect that. In total, in 2018, we had just over 19,300 people. So I think we will easily surpass 20,000 for this cycle. That's a good thing. This weekend, we do have, we had voting last Saturday. This weekend is Saturday and Sunday. Saturday 8 to 4, Sunday 1 to 5. So we will have that, as well as we will have curbside pickup. We had that last Saturday. Previously, we got approval to have a bipartisan team stand on the sidewalk and collect. We will do that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. It'll be for the hours that we are open for early in-person voting. Betty Edwards gladly voluntold that she would oversee that process, and she's doing well with that. As far as parking, it's been a little bit crazy. Tony can talk though about what we have going on for this weekend with lots and protective services.
Our location here isn't ideal, but what we do is we make accommodations and preparations for it. Like last Friday and Saturday, we will have additional deputy sheriffs here on the lot and on the property. Also, Cleveland Traffic Control will help assist with vehicles entering and leaving the parking lot. During the weekend, this parking lot will be ADA accessible parking only. And then on Saturday and Sunday, we'll have Campus International, the school down the street, and we'll have our large highway sign over there saying voter parking here. And then we also have another lot just south of the board of elections there as well. So I think we'll be prepared for it.
Have we had lines at this point?
Not outside the building. We have, I would say at times we probably get, I don't know, maybe about 20 deep as far as the line inside, but that really goes fast though, with the number of check-in operators that we have. But no, it's gone pretty smooth. We haven't brushed up against the line going outside. Maybe it'll happen this weekend with the crowds. We've been fortunate in that we've had a nice steady flow throughout the entirety of the day.
Yeah.
Versus all of a sudden 100 people come and then nobody for 45 minutes. And then another, it's been kind of consistent, which is the way we like it. It's easier to process and it's easier on waiting for voters. We do have a tent that we put up last week on Euclid Avenue. In the event line goes outside and try to help them from the elements. However, it's supposed to be like almost 70. So they probably want us to take it down and get a suntan. But I think we're definitely prepared for this upcoming weekend. Vote by mail, we've processed just over 148,000 vote by mail applications at this point. And from that, we have a a little over 102,000 voted ballots back. It's about a 70% return rate. We would expect to get about another 25,000 ballots in the mail between now and election day. That is reasonable. That would get us to 85% return, which is kind of what I expect every election. And we're getting anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 ballots per day. So that definitely is an attainable goal. The deadline to request a vote by mail application is this Saturday at noon. While that is the deadline, I advise do not wait until the deadline.
Right.
Any application we receive on Saturday, we will process it. We will have a ballot go to the post office. It won't go till late afternoon. So if you just consider that timing and the post office says 3 to 5 days to deliver something, you submit that application knowing that there's a possibility your ballot may not arrive until election day or possibly even the day after election day. So you have the opportunity to come down here again on the weekend and of course go to the polls. Vote by mail is down from where we were 4 years ago, and not sure why, but when we look at it, what we see is the vote by mail applications are down across all affiliations, meaning Republicans, Democrats, unaffiliated. So it's everyone is not using that form of voting as much as they have before. Again, don't know why. Doesn't necessarily mean that we'll have less voter turnout overall in the election. We just might have more people go to the polls on election day, cast their ballot. We'll see. Regarding poll workers, we're going into the election at this point with a full complement of poll workers. It's actually the first election this year where at this point we have a full complement of poll workers to go into, which is nice. In addition to that, we also have an ancillary pool of poll workers that are hired and trained that we will be placing pretty much Friday through Sunday. So Friday through Sunday, we typically would see about 300 people call off over this weekend and give us that notice. So we have this ancillary pool, which are not standbys, but another group of trained people that we can go ahead and plug these holes, which is nice to have that. Then we do have a group of about 100 standbys that are trained for Tuesday morning, which will come down to the warehouse, and then we will deploy them that day where we need to. So don't want to jinx anything, but we're going in with a nice complement of poll workers. Usually the bigger the election, the more your presidential generals and gubernatorials, there's just more of an interest in the election, and therefore that kind of gravitates it to more people want to serve as poll workers, which is helpful for us. So we have that. And then rovers, which the poll worker department also hires. We typically would get 185 rovers for an election. For this cycle, based on some rules with PRS and those contributions, we're transitioning those workers from a poll worker payroll to a temporary employee payroll. Of that 185, we have 150 rovers so far who have either completed their paperwork or have partially completed, and we're just waiting for them to provide us back with 1 or 2 pieces of information. We are continuing to reach out to the ones who are already committed, who haven't contacted us, and we will also have paperwork available at the zone stations on Monday, and this is where these rovers report to. So we'll have another last grab for them. The poll worker department, though, is hiring additional rovers in the event that some of these individuals don't want to come. They don't want to fill out the paperwork. So they are doing that now. So we will get to our 185 or plus with either the addition of some additional rovers now, or those individuals who haven't done their paperwork will come forward. We do have some sessions set up where we're trying to meet with them to facilitate this paperwork process. This is something that we've had to approach it because of the timeliness of the notice from our county payroll. So this has become a reactive measure for November 2022. It will be a proactive measure in 2023. So we're not put in this position again. I feel good about that too. This Sunday, our electronic poll books will be transferring the custody of the registration department, all locked down, over to election support. Vic and his team then will come in early Sunday morning, get all those electronic poll books, And then what they do is they pre-stage them for deployment on Monday out to the polling locations. That is a piece of voting equipment that doesn't go out like a week in advance. It's that Monday, because we're capturing as much data as we can into those books before we deploy them. And then when we update them on Monday night with whoever voted here on Monday during voting in person, it's a smaller file to get uploaded into the books. Berman's, who is delivering our voting equipment out to locations, doing a real good job. They've done a good job, but they got hit with COVID before. None of that is happening. They're on time with everything. It's great. And they will have, going into Monday, they will have about 10 locations that they will deliver on Monday. They always deliver some locations on Monday. 10 is very manageable. They've gotten behind. It's been as close as like 40 or something. So we're nowhere in that vicinity, which is good. So that's positive. We have 2 locations that don't have a Monday night organizational meeting. That's normal. It's Lakewood City Hall and I think Solon City Hall, because I think you have council meetings in their chambers or whatever. So we'll have some staff go out there a little bit earlier on Tuesday, get it set up and be open for business. The Department of Justice contacted me this week to let me know that they'll have monitors in Cuyahoga County on election day. This is a normal practice for them in a even year federal election. So even though the president isn't on the ballot every even year, general is a federal election because of the United States House of Representatives and the United States Senate. They have candidates on. Nothing is amiss. This is something they've been doing for years now. They come in and they view some of the locations. They primarily focus on our locations in which we employ bilingual poll workers. And they want to make sure that everything is.
So Director Perlani, do they have a contact information? I mean, if they have a question, is there someone they can call to get an answer?
So they will be calling myself or Deputy Director Gallagher. So we want those phone calls coming directly to us, and then we will go ahead and research, triage, and do what we need to do.
And in regards to identifying themselves, they have, are VLMs aware that they may be at these locations?
Yeah. So we will be sending notification to all voting location managers at all locations, not just the bilingual locations, letting them know that monitors are coming. They may or may not come to your location. They will, and we are providing the Department of Justice with the names of the voting location manager for every location, so that they can connect first and introduce themselves, and then introduce themselves to the poll workers. So they will have the monitors. They have credentials that they bring with them. They'll have their lanyard that they produce that they will be able to show. Different than an observer, they are able to engage with voters, with the poll workers, with the other observers in the location and ask questions. Again, they will, so we don't want our poll workers to be startled, unknown, so we will get that.
I guess I don't want to take too deep
Yeah.
a dive in it, but
Yeah.
what law permits them to engage? We're not under a consent decree anymore. And I mean, did they just tell you that, or you just assume that, or?
Well, they do. There was something that we got from the Ohio House of Representatives and from Rodney Davis. I think he chairs a committee.
Right, I
That's
remember.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and so he sent to all associations and states some guidance that is allowed for federal individuals to come into locations.
Okay. I don't anticipate an issue of it. But
Yeah.
Just.
No, it is curious. I mean, I would have meant,
Yeah.
it's not like they have ongoing jurisdiction because there's pending litigation, but maybe there's something under the Voting Rights Act or something that gives them broad authority to. And they've come before and they've reported back to us that, what their observations, we've always gotten, good responses. So we don't anticipate there being any issue that is concerning or that they might be concerned about.
Correct. No, they were here in 2020. As far as our bilingual voting program, we have not removed anything from what we've done before. So all those measures are in place. So I have confidence, that we would come out fine, because bilingual ballot. We do hire bilingual poll workers in the locations based on a surname analysis that is completed by the Department of Justice. So we're going off data that they provide us for that. All our signage in the polling location is bilingual. So we have a bilingual hotline. If an individual needs to call us because they have a voter has a concern or a question on election day. So all these things are things that we've had in place. We continue to have them in place. We haven't dropped anything from the program. Thank you. Then I just want to hit on real quick. Tony actually will speak to, we're utilizing the county emergency management department again to help with safety issues on election day.
Yeah, since 2020, we've had a really successful partnership with county's emergency management on election, actually the Monday night before and on election day. Marty Lynch and his election support team will be at the emergency management center there. They provide phones and computer screens for us there. And at that location, he manages the rovers, and we're in constant contact with the polling locations. And if something were to arise, we have safety forces either inside the building there or speed dial or quick access, in addition to fire, utilities if there's a water main break or electricity outage, as well as RTA. Plus, being there, we also have access to equipment like street cameras and so forth. So again, for every larger election, we have that team there, and we'll be doing that again this time as well.
How often are we emptying the drop-off box? You know how that?
Multiple times a day. So at the start of the day, we empty it. At the close of the day, we empty it. And then we kind of monitor what our traffic is throughout the day, and we'll have staff go out a couple times, multiple times. We just kind of look to see how many cars are coming
And
down.
we're staffed this weekend, so it'll be empty this weekend.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Just one follow-up question. So I'm so thrilled to hear that, poll worker interest hasn't fallen off, that we're all ramped up and have more than we need, that people are voting. It doesn't sound like, given all the press around, issues about security, concerns about intimidation of voters and other election jurisdictions, it doesn't sound like we have any of that we are prepped for. We're not going to disclose our security plan and all that, but just to give us confidence that, give confidence to the voters and to our poll workers that they will be safe and secure coming to our polling locations. Have any polling location folks reached out about any safety or security issues? I'm just wondering. I just want to make sure we don't seem to have issues that other election jurisdictions have, but I want to make sure that, given all of what's being talked about and things that are happening, that we are fully prepared and we've ramped up or ratcheted up our security pieces. We don't have to disclose what those are for obvious reasons, but can you just give some assurances around that safety and security of our voters and of our poll workers?
So locations have not reached out to us saying, I don't want to be a location because I don't feel it's, we feel there's going to be mayhem, or asking us to do additional items at their location. So that's good on that end. On our end, though, every election, every government, every city hall knows every location, if that's a polling place that's serving in their city, whether it's a public or private location. So they have that information, so they know about that. If the information is provided to the police department. We do have increased resources from the sheriff's office for Tuesday, above and beyond what they typically have. They're making available to us in the event that we need to respond to anything. Besides those types of resources, there's other government entities that monitor things such as social media and things like that. So we can, look to see those experts in that field, again, try to head something off where we can. Cybersecurity people are on board doing what they do. So we have all those things from a security standpoint, as well as, for example, just what we always do with our equipment for security seals and logging and all that to make sure that when we start the day, it hasn't been tampered with, and we monitor through with that. And as far as poll workers, we have put effort into some de-escalation type knowledge imparting on them, just so they kind of have some of those things available to them. Taking a little bit more steps with our voting location managers and our voting location deputies, who are the overseers really of the location, making sure that they have more tools, videos, things like that at their fingertips as far as what to do when some sort of situations arise. So we're doing all these things. We're doing them at a higher level than we've done in previous elections. And hopefully, it's one of these things where you prepare, obviously, and we are prepared for it. But a lot of it is reacting to things that happen. But in order to successfully react, you have to prepare for that and have the resources available. So I feel that we have a lot of those things in place to deal the hand that's dealt to us on Tuesday.
And are you done with your agenda, Mr. Glenn?
The only last thing I just wanted to hit on was post-election, just so everybody knows, while we are preparing for Tuesday, we also at the same time prepare for afterwards, in particular, poll worker payroll, right? It's always a topic of discussion, never happens fast enough. I want to say that in the last few elections, our team has gotten that file out faster than they ever have for countywide elections. It has transitioned from county accounts payable to county payroll, which means before, when we would finish processing, we could hand a file like accounts payable and they could run checks. Not the case anymore. Just like when we get our checks, it goes into that system. So if you turn it in on a Monday and they're not producing checks till Friday, not a whole heck of a lot you can do differently there. But our staff will be here 7 days a week in order to get those checks. And I believe those checks will go out prior to Thanksgiving, or is it the Friday of Thanksgiving? It's as fast as we can get them, they will be done there. And then provisionals, they'll be in our work 7 days a week too, just trying to jam those through so we can certify in time.
Any questions for Mr. Vlade? Just one, have we been in touch with Willow Security just to remind them, we don't want call-offs,
Sure.
right? And if we have call-offs, we have the sheriff's back.
Yes, and so we have communicated with them. They will not be able to give us the full complement that we had asked for. So we know that now. We've made arrangements already working with county resources beyond the sheriff's office to fill those in, and we have the sheriff's office as our fallback backup for election day. So we are, as best as we can with what we know now, ready to attack that.
Terrific. The weather's supposed to be high 62 and partly cloudy, so hopefully that'll keep. Any other questions from the board members to the deputy director? Okay, hearing none. I do want to acknowledge receipt from, we've talked about this at our last meeting, the fact that this board and to its employees received the Pinnacle Award for Excellence in Government Web Design. And the Secretary LaRose has provided us with a resolution that we will display prominently here. And again, want to recognize those individuals here at the agency that were responsible for putting that webpage together. We have one public comment here. Judge Brian Hagan, would you like to speak? Thanks for coming down, Judge. I know you haven't spoken here before. We have a 5-minute public comment, so you're welcome to address the board for 5 minutes. And if you just state your name and address and let us know what your thoughts are.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Director Vlade. First and foremost, thank you all for your service. I wish you the best of luck and smooth sailing for the next 5 years and for 5 days and beyond that. My name is Brian Hagan. I reside at 22731 Hilliard Boulevard in Rocky River. I am currently the presiding administrative judge of the Rocky River Municipal Court and the current president of the Association of Municipal Appellate Judges of Ohio. This past Thursday, by email from the Ohio Judicial Conference, I was apprised of an issue that was created by the vacancy of the resignation of Gail Williams-Squires from the position of judge in the South Euclid Municipal Court. The concern that was raised to me, if I had known anything relative to that position, was placed on the ballot for this Tuesday. One of the concerns that we had is that the municipal court judges are elected an odd number of years. And there was a concern as to why this was placed upon the state or county, when the county judges were on, the state judges were on. In fact, we have ballots for all positions from the state Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals, and the County Police Court here in the county. Our concern is that if this election goes forward and is ratified and confirmed, issues will be the Secretary of State and the governor issuing the commission for that seat. Right now, as it stands, this vacancy is in the hands of the governor of the state of Ohio. And to the Constitution, Article 4, Section 13, which when he gets around to appointing, he will. And if he chooses to appoint a successor for that position, anytime between November 8th and the end of the year, that person will be commissioned to sit as judge and then will run for the term in November of 2023. Had the position, the way that this normally operates for vacancies, resignations, either it be through retirement, early retirement, resignation, or in some cases, unfortunately, through criminal conduct and removed by the Supreme Court. The person who is then appointed, as the way the Constitution reads, would run for the office which is vacant at the next election for that office. So if the position in South Euclid was up in 2025, my term ends in 2025, the person who would be appointed by the governor would have to run in 2023 for the unexpired term. The successor in 2023 would then have to run again in 2025. And that's how it's been. That's the history of the judiciary, the way it's been made. Our concern is that, and I have no horse in this race. I don't even know who the individuals are. Our concern is that if a person is on the ballot that is ratified, we're going to have somewhat of a cluster. I'm concerned that if that person sits, that anything that is adjudicated during that year will be raised as possibly being voidable. And so we're in that position that we do not want to set a precedent. And what I wanted to do is just bring this to the attention of the board. All right, I understand that you may already know about this. I'm not in a position of standing to do anything about this. I do not represent the state of Ohio. I represent a group of concerned judges through the conference and the association. So I just wanted to put this upon your record that it can be addressed. I see a potential issue coming forward after November 8th, because you may satisfy give a certificate, but it's going to go down to the Secretary of State. Going to have to go down to the governor to issue the commission. And I believe that both of those individuals are somewhat tied up right now with their own campaigns and elections that are going on. So we never anticipated any appointment until after the election. So with that, I don't want to belabor the point at all. I've presided, and I will be in my transparency that I have spoken to Chairman Hastings and also Mr. McCafferty on this. Those are the only two that I had numbers available in a shorter period of time because I just started working on this past Friday. So I appreciate the time. I thank you. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to address that.
Well, thank you, Judge, for addressing it. And you're absolutely correct. It was brought to my attention. You reached out to me Tuesday morning. We spoke in the afternoon. I reached out to staff about the matter. And where there may be some merit to your comments and positions about the appointment, we have never had a complaint brought to us formally with someone standing. And if that may happen, it may happen prior to the election or may happen after the election. And then with a vigorous exchange of whoever bringing the complaint, and of course, I think there's a gentleman named Mr. Sturkle running there who we've certified to the ballot. You know, they'll have that exchange. We'll come to a decision as a board of what to do. I think that's the process we need to follow. And we may well be following it soon. So those are my only comments at this point, you know, as to where we're at. So,
because I do know that the conference, retired Justice Pfeiffer is our executive director of the OJC. He's been making calls. Our legislative liaison has been making calls both to the Secretary of State and the governors. I know other concerned individuals have been making calls to the appointment staff of the governor's office to put this on their plate. But as I stated, it's not a priority to them yet, but there's a huge potential issue. If this goes, it'll set a precedent for any vacancy on the judiciary that somebody could run down on an off year and file petitions. And one of the things nobody knew, for one, nobody knew that this was available to them, that they could put a petition on. And
It was
didn't-
publicized, Judge, that it was in the paper, because we did discuss the petitions. There was also someone else who filed and withdrew, so it wasn't so much, it wasn't hidden that this was, we had the discussions. I did ask about this as
Yeah.
well. And, as to why this was coming up now, because the governor's office was looking to appoint before the election. But when the decision came from this body, and then we did have a public meeting where we certified it to the ballot. So that was done in public record.
Because it is racist eyebrows. Right? So it could only be unique to Cuyahoga County that like this would happen, but then you're talking about 13 municipal races and how many other unlimited county races together. It's just a concern.
I'm sorry. Do we know whether this has ever happened before, or if we, has this ever happened before? There was a certification that was done by us, but there's a different provision under the Constitution that requires a different process. If I've got my head around the issues completely.
Let me just, well, as long as you and I have been here for 15
Right, I don't
years, that's
recall
never
this.
happened.
Right.
I can assure you
So I guess
that.
my only question is, do we need to have someone to raise is there something to fix that needs to be fixed, or what if we never receive a complaint?
So, an
Okay.
excellent point.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's my take is, for example, we had a complaint about East Cleveland mayor and recall election, and we heard it, adjudicated it. And then we made a decision, and then that starts the process, because if they disagree with our decision, then they can go, because we're a quasi judicial body,
Right.
then they can take it to the Court of Common Pleas. The Supreme Court said, you've done the process. So I think a complaint has to be brought to us. I don't believe sua sponte, we can just say, I'm going to make a motion and
Yeah.
decertify without having a hearing on these matters and advocates on either side of it.
Well, underlying that position, and I'm not saying I disagree with you, is the premise that we didn't do anything wrong. So I just want to make sure
Right.
that we didn't do anything
There's no
improper.
accusations of any wrongdoing
Yeah.
or no collusion or any conspiracy, please.
No, I don't mean, I'm not a conspiracy. But, no, I just want to make sure that our certification process followed the law, and that we did what we normally do, which is follow the law. And then, that we don't have a duty sua sponte to fix something that is an error that we caused. That's what my only question underlying
And
that.
not to mention, we've had this issue where other people we've certified after the fact, after the date of objection window come and said, there's a question with this. And we've also said this is usually a post-election issue in some of those cases where they do have remedies outside of this body once the election occurs. So that is to be considered as well.
One of the things discussed there, not only amongst this body here, but also with the conference, is that the code citations that were issued is a little bit vague relative to the municipal clerks and municipal judges, but the Constitution is very clear with that, and it says that for the office which is vacant, the next general election for the office which is vacant, which on the municipal court side, except for the county municipal courts, would be in the odd year and all the other judges in the even year. The only thing that I ever found was a 1945 Attorney General opinion when two judges of the Dayton Municipal Court resigned, one in January of 45 and one in March of 45, and the governor appointed. And the prosecuting attorney for the Dayton asked for an opinion as how long did they serve? And he cited this, the Constitution said they served the full year until the next general election for that. Fortunately for Dayton, that general election was that November of 45. So there wasn't anything going past that, but they wanted to make sure that the governor's commission to those two judges were one, valid, and that basically whatever they were doing would be proper. Our question is going to be obviously some concern that if this is not a proper issue, that Mr. Sturgill, who I do not know if he is on the bench, somebody raising the validity of any judgment that he would put down over the next year. This is a concern, but I appreciate your time.
Well, thank you, Judge. I know, and I would think that, that this doesn't really become super right until we
Right.
certify,
That's
which
right.
isn't happen till late November. So there is time to have smarter minds than myself address this and look into it.
It's
So,
smarter than mine. so.
Right.
Well, and unfortunately, Judge, all of the statutes that come into play when there's a question, they're all vague. We have this all the time.
There's an issue from people down in Columbus. We have issues with that as well.
Right.
So,
Well, thank you, Judge.
Thank you for
thank
bringing
you
it to
very
our
much,
attention.
and good luck on Tuesday.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. West, did you want to address the
Yeah, I figured as long as you saw the group come in, you'd wonder who they were. Well, we're happy to host a tour today, courtesy of Mayor Wheelo, of some international guests that are going to learn all there is to know about how we do democracy in Cuyahoga County. So I know
Okay.
you guys are really busy, so thanks for letting me cut in.
Thank you for coming to our meeting. Actually, we're just winding up the meeting, but you probably heard we had a discussion, probably the most interesting part of it. Again, are there any other comments or additions from our board members? If not, I'll move to recess and we'll see you all on Tuesday, November 8th. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.